Country roads, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia.
Country mama.
We gotta do Christmas carols. We
Take me
wish you a
home.
Merry Christmas.
Country
we wish you a Merry
roads.
Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Wait. I apologize for that musical introduction. I'm Andre with TFL Truck and
Kent with MrTruck.com.
heck yeah, and this is Talkin Trucks.
Yes.
And what's his name?
What is his name?
Red Rooster? Anyway, the
lost
chicken is
track.
here. The chicken is here is because Ken brings them for every Thursday's Talking Trucks show.
Right.
And when you guys help us out using Super Chat, the donations, he makes noise. Okay?
Yes, and he lays eggs. We already had eggs earlier.
No, he doesn't lay eggs. He's a boy. Okay?
Oh, that's how that works.
Well, I don't know.
What's the other zipper?
I have no idea. Today we're talking about primarily the Ford Ranger because we just got back from the Ranger first drive event.
Yes.
But we're gathering your questions and answering some questions, but we cannot talk about driving impressions.
That's true, and we drove the heck out of them yesterday.
We drove many different models, all the trim levels, off-roading and towing, and those videos are coming on Tuesday.
Yes.
To Mr. Truck TV.
Yes.
And TFL Truck.
Yes, and then next Thursday for Truck Talk, come back because we will be able to say anything we want about the Ranger.
Right, and thank you for joining us, Juan. You're here. I see about several hundred folks already joining for this show, so I really appreciate that. We really love that. Behind the camera is our producer Zach, and Zach is going to be throwing some questions at us as well.
Right, and the Ranger is such an anticipated one. We missed it for 8 years?
Yeah, about 8.
And I probably had 10 of these things, and I had all those different engines. I had the 2.3, which was really popular. There was a 2.2 dual spark plug, a 2.5, a 2.8, and a bunch more. And then there was a couple diesels. One was made by Mitsubishi, and I think Mazda did them. But anyway, they had 2 diesels. They had a 3-liter V6, a 4-liter V6, and now we have
one engine.
We have one engine.
Right, and we have all the information about the truck. We just can't talk about how it drives. The one engine is 2.3 liter turbocharged 4.
Yeah.
And you were telling me something about the special design on the turbocharger because it's not the same as the Mustang.
Yes, and I didn't have a cutaway of an engine, so I could have really got in depth.
Not.
But they called, the GM 2.7 is a dual flute thing.
Yeah.
Which is 2 different directions that the air comes
into
it.
Well, the air comes in the turbo from the top and also from the bottom.
Right. So you got 2 intakes or 2 feeds.
Directions. Two directions, right.
And they talk about a 3-port exhaust manifold, which that's where the air comes from, is the exhaust manifold.
Right.
Runs the turbine, gets the air pumped into the engine. So, there's some things I can't say until next week about it, but, that's a 3.3-port system.
Special design.
Yes, it's design. It's all based on that and it does have an intercooler. They call it that air charge thing now. Okay. So all of that makes the longer life out of it. But according to Ford, you got one size. Oh, cool, more money.
James Kilburn, $5. Thank you very much. I'm going to put your name on the board. Oh, by the way, you need to refresh your screen.
Well, it's an Apple. I have no idea which button to push. But that's see, Ford is confident that engine, that 10-speed transmission, those low gears at the beginning, the 373 rear end,
right,
and the turbo is all they need. And they may be right because their fuel numbers are pretty good. 26 on a highway and 2-wheel drive.
Right.
So that beats the Ford 2.7 full size 150 by 1.
Yeah, so they're pretty close actually as far as half-time.
Yeah, but they're
economy.
They're kind of leading the gas engines in the mid-size class. So that's a good thing, and that's what I was hoping for. Figured that's what they'd have to really be successful. You've got to get some better fuel mileage, and these mid-sizes, there's no reason for these things to be getting terrible fuel mileage.
Yeah, and one engine choice, one transmission, which is a 10-speed. So the 10-speed in the Ranger is basically the same transmission, according to Ford, as in like an F-150.
Exactly. The only difference is like the bell housing and the torque converter.
Right.
Which means, you figure between that and the 150 and the Mustang, they're very similar. They're just different parts to make them fit those engines. And of course, torque converter, that's part of the reason that, that you own a truck that's different than a car.
Right, and 310 pound-feet of torque. So Ford said they focused on lower-end torque for this engine.
Right.
270 horsepower. So the horsepower is actually not class-leading.
Right.
The Tacoma has a little bit more, and once again, the Colorado has over 300 horsepower, in fact. But none of those engines, the V6s, in the gas motors have as much torque.
And we get those in Colorado, we'll be able to do the iGauntlet and see how well they tow. Because I remember the 3.6, well, the ones in the Chevy, the Colorado, and Tacoma, we've driven all of them. So now we'll see how this compares to see if that turbo will be better. Because we know it is on the EcoBoost 3.5
Right.
and 2.7. They fly at this altitude, so we'll see if that carries across with the Ranger.
Somebody says you don't like the armrest. Somebody's watching you.
Oh, they watch. Well, that doesn't come out until next week on the video. But yeah, that's a driving impression, isn't it? Because I
Well,
complained a lot about the armrest. The engineers are all mad at me. But
Well, it's an interior impression.
okay, I guess
Yeah, it's
next
okay.
week I'll explain to you
Everything about it.
what I don't like and what I do like. That's what I'll do next week.
Right, impressions next
Yes.
week.
Now, how did
Driving,
somebody else find that
off-roading,
out? 'Cause
everything. Towing.
Unless
You
that's
towed a
spies.
boat?
I did. I towed a boat about
Yes.
6,500 pounds.
Yeah.
And I went across 6 lanes to get somewhere else. I went across another 12 lanes. We were in California, San Diego. They have a lot of lanes of highway out there, you know. And we had to wait till 7 o'clock at night to get the traffic down so I wouldn't have to run into everybody. And it will tell you all about how that went and how what I thought of it
Okay.
next week.
Next
So,
week on Tuesday.
yes.
Please come back to his
on
channel.
Thursday. Well,
Tuesday
it'll
the
be
18th.
yes, Tuesday will be on the videos, and we'll talk about it here on Thursday.
Yeah, on this show.
Yeah, on this show.
On
so
the show, absolutely. Every Thursday we're doing Talkin trucks, and then Mondays and Fridays Nathan and I are doing what car or truck should I buy.
right. So watch our videos on Tuesday, and they have questions for us on Thursday, and we'll have a good show.
So there's one question that I've prepared, which is from Sean, and Sean says about the hubs on the Ranger.
Yes.
So the four-wheel drive hub, is it vacuum operated like the F-150, or is it kind of old school like the older Ranger?
Well, I cornered an engineer,
Okay.
Keith, yesterday because I asked him. All
I
the
cornered a
questions.
few new engineers
Yeah,
too.
I got them all on camera so that they can't deny it. But anyway, he said no, they're on all the time. You know, the differentials,
The hubs.
are
Yeah.
on all the time. The differential disconnects, the transfer case disconnects, and that's how GM has been doing it for a long time. I mean, you know, Ram did it when they went from Dana axles to American axles. They started having no disconnect, and then they thought it'd get 1 mile to gallon better, so they went back to a hub with the vacuum disconnect. And it's like the old actuators they had a long time ago on those Danas. But I don't know now if the Ram is still doing it. I don't know. You know, I know Chevy is, and Chevy's been so successful with those CV joints. I would have thought they would have wore out a long time ago, but they get as long a life out as that as we do U joints. And I was always saying, but now a lot of people are putting CV joints on the drive shafts too. The Raptor has them up front. The Titan has them up front. A lot of them have actually a CV joint instead of a universal in front of the transfer case. And so I guess the guys making CV joints know what they're doing. But and this, as I recall, this is all universal joints on this Ranger. They told me that too.
Yeah.
It's not
and
CV
coil
joints.
springs,
Yeah.
coilovers in the front, and leaves in the back, right?
Yes.
And leaves are specially designed. I mean, for the Payload, which is
Yeah.
1860
Yeah.
for a two-wheel drive
Right.
truck for the Ranger, which is actually a pretty high number.
Well, it is, and you know,
Yeah.
and they're within 500 pounds of a trailer toy of a Raptor, and a lot, and actually the 2.7 and the 150 is only 8,000 pounds, so they're really close. And that 1860 for the Payload was amazing to me because that beats a lot of 150s, and it's equal to a lot of 150s.
Well, yeah, but we have to speak clearly, right? The Ranger and the F-150, if you put them side to side,
Yeah.
side by side,
Yeah.
the F-150 is clearly a larger truck. I mean, it's not like the Ranger is
Right.
bigger than like a Chevy Colorado in many ways, right?
Well, I guess weight. So yeah, you got less weight on a Ranger, so it would make sense that it would have more payload. It's just there's not enough room to put much payload in there. You know, it's
right.
a small little
We
bed.
got a 6
so
bed for
yeah.
the extended cab and 5-foot bed, short bed.
It's called a super cab.
Is that the terminology?
It always has been. Extended cab is
Extended,
General Motors.
Extended? No, they call it double.
No, they also have an extended cab. General Motors has had that for decades.
But
Ford
that's
has always
like-
been super cab and super crew and
Yes.
crew cab.
Yes, but the super is a Ford terminology.
Well, we're
I
talking
wanna-
about Ford
I wanna-
Rangers.
Well,
so-
yeah, but I want to call it more generically. I want to talk about in general.
Okay.
Please
Okay.
tell us what to do. No, let's move on. Let's move on.
I'm just trying to help you. Is all I'm trying to do.
People are asking about what's coming up. Detroit show is coming up in January, which
Yes.
is like the 13th is the media day or media days. It's like a second week of January. That's really exciting. We know that Ford is unveiling the GT500 Shelby Mustang. That's exciting. We don't know much else about what
Well, you know,
Ford is doing.
my guess is they're going to unveil a 10-speed Super Duty. I'm betting money on it. I'm going to Vegas and betting money on it. 'Cause
Nice.
You got GM announcing it. What's Ford going to do? Be last place? No. They've been making 10-speed for years. They'll jump all over that. I bet you money. I'm going to Vegas.
You heard it here first, Kent. When you go to Vegas,
Odds are 20-1.
bring people with you. Yeah, the Chevrolet just unveiled their
I'm
heavy
bringing
duty
her
truck.
with me. That's for.
There's nobody here.
That's what she said.
Chevy Heavy Duty just came out with a 10-speed Allison branded transmission.
Well,
What do you think about that? Because there was some discussion.
Do you want
here.
me to really tell you what I think about that?
Yes.
I'll tell you what I know.
Yes.
Because General Motors, when they sold off Allison years ago,
That was like 07, 08?
yeah.
Okay.
And I think they sold to Penske or something. But anyway, they kept the T1000 plant. They kept making for the pickups there.
In Baltimore.
Is that where it was?
Yeah.
Because that one plant for those pickup transmissions,
Right.
they kept ownership of the plant.
Right. And
So I don't know
producing
if Allison was the hiring the laborers, if it was all their shop, but I know that GM owned the building.
Yes.
And so they kept making them. And I've watched these things back when they first came out in 2001 in the Duramax. They were the T1000, they were 5 speeds, and all the transmission rebuilders were making them into 6 speeds. It wasn't very hard to do. And I've watched them rebuild those a lot. And I know what it looks like inside there, and the external oil filter, all that stuff, and how it's built. And I've watched, Ruben, my mechanic, rebuild those things. And there's a big difference in how Allisons are made. I hope that this is not a different transmission, because Allison, that's the whole idea. It's not just the name, it's the quality.
It's the design of it?
Yeah, and two, when I was at SEMA, and I interviewed
In Vegas?
Yes, and people love. I did 6 videos at SEMA in Vegas,
Yes.
and there's one I did with these people. It's called Custom. It's CA something. You'll see the video, but
Okay.
this lady really knew what she was doing, and they take Allisons and they put them behind Rams on the Cummins. They put them behind the Ford Super Power Strokes, and they have their little adapter plates, and they can adapt their plate for the transfer case.
You're gonna start some wars now.
And they were telling me that the Allison is a heavy duty one and all that, and it's all cool stuff. She really knew what she's talking about. They put in their special torque converters, but they use all Allison parts. They use all Allison wiring harnesses. They said they don't use the GM stuff. So there may be a difference.
We have a question.
So this is an interesting question from E. Lockrow. I owned a 94 Ranger 4-liter. Do you think it's worth it to buy? The F-150 is close in price and is far more capable. Also, the MPGs are very comparable.
94 versus new or an old F-150?
No, he's saying a new Ranger compared to a new F-150.
Oh,
He
I
just
see.
owned an old Ranger.
I see. Because they did have one. Did you see? I went to the ranch. There was one sitting there at one of the places we stopped to get coffee. An old Ranger. But anyway,
I remember.
But it was a super cab, not an extended cab.
Oh, jeez.
But anyway, yes. I mean, I've had the same dilemma. I was going to get a Ranger, and I thought, I'm old and I need to go to more funerals now and all that stuff.
Oh, that's
and,
sad.
And I wanted to be able to get to Walmart and open my door without hitting somebody. And I thought the Ranger's just great, but it doesn't come out till January, and I need tax write-off now. So and then I really compared it closely to the Ford 2.7. Because they're very close in price, very close in fuel mileage.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have a whole other philosophy, and tomorrow I'm going to buy a new truck, and we'll probably tell you about it next week.
Okay, next
But
week.
For your instance, it all depends. Do you need room for 6? Do you need room for
5?
2.5, or whatever that
Right.
crew cab has? There's not a lot of leg room in any of these small crew cabs. That's just how it is. And your kids will fit until they grow up. But I don't know. I mean, it is very close. And C2, that Ranger's in 19. You can buy the new 150 2018 with the 10-speed, with the dual port injection, the dual injection,
Yes.
all the things that you're going to see for several years, and it'll have everything you need, and you're going to get discounts. I mean, what I'm looking at, my gosh, I've got, I think what I am, $11,000 in discounts now. I just keep adding them up to them, and then you're going to get 0 interest maybe, or the rebates. So right now, it's really hard to say not to buy an 18,
An F-150?
an F-150 because of all the deals.
But I think there's another consideration. I think you made some great points. They're very close on fuel economy, sometimes payload also. But if you live in a big city like downtown Denver, LA, a big city, right?
Yeah.
A Ranger is just more manageable, right? It's a
They
smaller
are.
pickup
It's
truck.
size. And
You can park it in any garage.
yesterday kept saying that it's garageable. I mean, I'm used to hearing this from Ram. Ram, came out with that. It went from a 6.5 foot bed to a 6'3" bed, so it could be garageable.
Yes.
And that was a 3/4 ton too. And I
Yes.
thought, I don't buy a 3/4 ton and worry about the garage size, but
Right.
that's what they were thinking. So now Ford's doing that. Well, don't fit your garage. Okay, if
Well,
that's how
not
you buy
just your
things.
garage, but like garage at your apartment building.
And parking spots at these malls.
They're narrower and narrower and
terrible.
narrower.
Yeah,
So-
I can see the point, but I mean, just look like now. You can get a pretty loaded 2.7 F-150 crew cab, 4-wheel drive, FX4, real close to 30 grand. To me, that's a steal.
After discounts.
Yes, after all the discounts and all the things going on, it's December. They got to move this stuff. They want to have all their numbers go up so they can say we're number one.
It's the holiday season.
This is when I
End
buy
of the
stuff.
year.
I buy stuff in December.
End of the year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's another good question.
Yes.
Especially to Kent. What made the old Ranger so special? Why was it so popular?
That's a good.
They
good
used
question.
to sell like 400,000 Rangers a year.
Yeah, and I used to sell them. I used to sell them to everybody, and I liked them. But well, I thought they were well made. I mean, I had some Rangers back then, the square body, and they went to a rounded body, and now they're kind of a smoothie body. But I had some of those square ones that had 200, 300,000 miles on them. I thought they lasted forever, and it was that 2.3. I loved the 4-liter, it was my favorite one, and a super cab with an automatic, and they fit me. I'm a heavy duty reporter, so my butt's probably a little larger than theirs.
You heard it here first.
But I fit those really well, and I've had Chevy Loves, I've had the Toyotas, I've had the Mazdas, I've had Zuzus, I had all that stuff, and it seemed to me like the interior was a little bigger on them. They felt bigger. Maybe they weren't, but they sure felt.
But they weren't crew cab. They were not.
No,
four-door.
nobody had crew cabs back then. That's why I was excited about this range. We finally got a crew cab in the U.S.
We finally did.
I was
so
so
it's
happy.
actually usable for
Yeah,
four
and see,
people.
when it came out with the Ford Sport Track, that was a 4-door. It was basically an Explorer.
Explorer platform.
And it didn't look like a truck, and it didn't sell that well, and it went away. But I wish they would have, at that point, put that crew cab on the Ranger, not on this Explorer body. But
Do you think the new Ranger will have good sales success?
oh, I think it'll do really well. And that's another thing we were talking about, is they are promoting this. Like, I think you and I were like the last journalists in the United States to drive the damn thing. They were everywhere, and there was journalists driving their dealer. They had several dealer things. I just talked to the dealer I'm buying it from. They drove them last week before we did. Everybody's driving the Rangers but us.
Okay.
And you
So they're actually getting it out there.
yes, they've got groups of people taking it to all these shows, getting people in them. So they are spending the money to get this out there, and they've already known that people have been waiting for this. And it's like when they brought back, like the Camaro, when all these vehicles and the Challenger, the vehicles
And the transit van.
Yeah, we didn't grow up loving the transit van, but all these other ones we grew up loving. So when you bring it back, it just makes you feel good. It's like
Yes.
remember your first girlfriend in the back seat of that.
Ooh, this is another show.
That's that after
Please.
dark.
Okay. Tommy, another question?
Yeah, another good question from Doug here. V6/4-cylinder have to work harder than an 8-cylinder pulling the same weight. So why a smaller engine?
So they, specifically from Ford, this is what they said. It's the good compromise between fuel economy, power, and performance.
Right, and when you go to turbos and all these other things they're doing, and the kind of injection, the direct injection they have, I mean, they can pump out a lot of power, just like those Ferraris and the guys that race the 500 out there in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They can make a little tiny motor this big and make it put out 1 billion horsepower.
Well,
So that's technology is changing the way we do
it is
everything.
changing, right.
Yes, and so they can get more power and they get more. Well, just look at the longevity of them. When I grew up, I changed starters and alternators every year. I mean, we just threw parts on these things in the 70s and 80s, and now I never do any of that. I don't change a starter. The engines go 200,000 miles, and they're making them more dependable. They're making them more powerful. So the technology, just like everything, whether it's computer or whatever it is.
And I think in the big way, the gasoline technology is actually caught up to where diesel technology was or is, because diesels are known for big torque.
Yes,
right.
and longevity.
and turbocharging
Yeah.
and longevity. And I think it took the gas engine actually a little while to catch up in technology and durability and kind of build quality and performance. And I think we're seeing that. We're reaping those rewards right now.
I think we talked about that in the book, TruckNet's book.
Yeah,
something
we
like
do
that.
have a book.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
one. We talked about that,
Yes.
how things are improving,
Right.
and we're all about improving things.
So, and actually a turbocharged engine, because it has a lot of low-end torque, pulling a load, like the question was saying from Doug, you don't have to rev it high. The
Yeah.
torque is actually maybe around, 3,000 RPM.
Or less, yeah.
Or less. So you don't have to rev your engine all the way up to 6,000 like some of the V6s need to do.
well,
so,
he's talking about gas engines, though, right?
Yeah, gas
So
engine.
both of them are wrapping up, and actually both of them have the red line about the same, about that 6,000 RPM, whether it's a V6 or V8. I mean, some of the 4-cylinders are a little lower RPM, but so you turn the same amount of revolutions, and all the things they do with piston technology and with synthetic oils and all that, it's amazing what they can do, and especially when you go into the turbocharged world, like we know very well in the mountains.
Yes. I have a question from Carlos.
Before you do Carlos' question, I have another one that's been floating around in the chat while we're on the subject of the Ranger and performance. What's the word with the Ranger Raptor? Is it ever coming to the U.S.?
The official word from Ford that it's not coming. They've announced that from their performance division. I
They said-
think
The same guy said we're never going to have a Raptor either. the same guys.
So
Years
so
ago.
I think it's coming, and it's not now.
Yeah, when
I think it'll be several years before we see
If
one.
it makes it to Europe this next summer, we'll be over there in the first boat that gets there, and
Are
we're
we
going to
gonna
find out. We'll get to the bottom of that because I do think it's coming. I think it may be 2 or 3 years away, but I think
Right,
the
and
Ranger
they're not
Raptor
saying
is
anything.
coming here.
They're not
And it all
saying
depends,
anything about it.
If the Rangers go nuts, if they sell 1 million units that first year, they'll bring everything known to man with the name Ranger on it.
I don't think they'll sell 1 million units in a year, but they might be very competitive. I think they'll take a big bite out of Tacoma sales, a big bite out of Chevy and GMC sales.
Well, in Frontier, they'll keep making the same one for the 20 years. So
Well, it doesn't
you
matter.
know, it's-
Frontier always chugs along. It's always just there. It's a good old truck.
We can keep saying last Frontier every
There's
year.
another question that's floating around. It's
Final
about the
Frontier.
new Bronco. And we also don't know much or anything official about
And
the
that
Bronco.
was interesting because I asked the engineers about that, and I said, "Wait a minute, you're in the same place. This is the Ranger line. This is the
Bronco
Bronco
line."
line." They said, "Oh, we don't talk to those guys. We don't have anything to do with that." Like, what the hell's wrong? What that doesn't make sense. You guys can touch
I got-
each other in the same room, and you
I
don't
got-
talk to each other.
I got the same answer.
I
They-
thought that was
Some
crazy.
of the Ford guys told me that the Bronco team is very kind of isolated right now. They're not talking to anybody. They're focused on what they're doing, and I think product development and secrecy is still really important. Obviously.
That reminds me of a story.
What about the collusion?
No, when all these guys, all these religions and trucks and tractors, everybody gets so loyal to them, and some of those, you go to heaven, there's all these different churches, and some of them have the lights out, and you ask questions, and they say, well, why is it they all blocked up and there's no lights? It says, well, shh, they think they're the only ones up here. That's how those engineers are. We're the only engineers in this building.
Yes.
Don't say anything.
Okay, interesting question from
questions.
Matt Borders. Any mention from Ford about an integrated brake controller being available later?
It's available now if you order it.
It's an accessory.
It's an accessory, but you
I
can't
wouldn't
order it.
really
when you
call
order
it
the truck.
integrated because it's kind of a
Yeah,
post-factory.
Right.
It's
the
a
dealer,
post-factory thing.
Dealer installed, but you can't order it when you order the truck.
But
Okay.
it's installed at dealer. There's no word about updating it to be completely fully integrated.
Now, Kent, I'll be curious to get your input on this one from Andy G. Is Ford downplaying the similarities of the U.S. Ranger and the rest of the World Ranger for marketing reasons?
Of
Trucks
course
need-
they are.
Truck needs to be
They get
American.
really mad when we say that, and that's why Android can't say that. But see, I can say that. Let them throw rocks. I think they're all really similar. Of course they are. I mean, look at the guy from Boeing who was president for a long time, or CEO. What was his name?
Mullally.
Yeah, he talked about it as a world vehicle, making for one vehicle for everybody. And that's what they did. The Rangers for everybody all around the world.
But Mullally hasn't been there in
I
many,
know.
many
See,
years.
now they're trying to change that. Like, oh no,
He's-
they're different or special. U.S. ones are special. Everybody else is different. And I don't know if it's true or not. How the hell would you find out?
Well,
They aren't gonna
we
tell
would
us.
have to. So here's what Ford says, right? That the frames are updated, the suspension, the brakes, the engine is different. Obviously, there's
Sure.
no diesel option here, but we can't find out for sure unless we cut across the frame
Yeah,
of
it's-
a global Ranger, and then we cut one of the U.S. Rangers and actually look at the frames. But we do know that they thought really deeply about this Ranger.
They did. I
Right,
mean, they
because-
know that the
because-
buyers are different. That's how
because-
that's marketing. That's what
Right.
it is.
Ford is the F-150 is the best-selling truck for a reason.
Right.
Because they understand the customers. They have a dealership network that can handle, the marketing and the sale. And I think they did their research on this, and that's why they did with certain packages, trim levels, engines. I think it's all for a reason.
Yeah, and so that's the story they want to keep, and that's fine. It would be really hard for us to prove it either way, and they're not going to prove it to us either way. I bet that's marketing, but that's that Boeing guy, the Mullally, man, that's what he kept saying: one vehicle, one world, one thing, and that's.
Well, it kind of makes sense, but the look is different because there's a cut line here in the front. The funny story, I was there early before you and Roman flew in to the Ranger drive, and I was pulling out in the Ranger, and an Uber driver flagged me down. He said, "Stop! What Ranger is this?" He said, "It looks different from the Ranger available in Mexico."
Yeah.
And I said, "That is different."
Yeah.
So he was actually knowledgeable enough, just kind of a random person on the street,
Right.
to actually notice that difference. And because the difference in the front is clear, but what's underneath, it makes sense to make it common, right? 'Cause
Sure,
you
sure.
save money.
Well, a lot of times Ford does that, and they used to always test engines and vehicles in Australia, and I'm sure they test them in Europe. That's what they do. They work their way up, and then when they think it's the right one for this market, that's what they do. I'm sure there's small changes, but I don't think it's dramatic. I think they're trying to make it
the
sound
interior.
like
do we have an
they're totally
interior
different.
image of the Ranger?
We do,
If you
yeah.
look the interior, you compare like the one available like in Germany or UK or Thailand. Well, maybe not the UK, but because the steering wheel is on
Yeah.
different sides, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at those interiors, they're the same components.
So is there Rangers in Australia besides the Raptor Ranger? Is there regular Rangers there? I mean, there's all those
Yes.
those 4-door Toyota trucks down there.
Yeah.
Where are they
very
made
popular.
in Thailand, or where are the ones that go to Australia made?
I don't know. But the U.S. Ranger is built in Wayne, Michigan,
Yes.
so it's in Michigan.
Is it
Different plant?
Neo asked a good question. How much bigger are they to the last Ranger model?
Oh,
It's quite a lot bigger,
You
but
know,
we don't, I don't know the exact specs.
we'd have to measure because when we went to one of the reveals a year ago and they showed us this thing, I'm looking at it and I thought, and I asked him, I said, this thing looks a lot bigger than a Colorado and a Canyon, and we know it's bigger than the Toyota. How much bigger is it? And they go, oh no, it's about the same size. I mean, I have no way of knowing. To me, it looks bigger, and to me, it looks a lot bigger than the old Rangers. I mean, like I was saying, that one place we got coffee
Yeah.
yesterday, they had an old one
We'll-
there, and it
we'll
looked like
do
a
more
little
about
mini
this.
truck. It was And that's why they really don't want us calling these minis, because they're a mid-size, and so they're admitting that it's bigger. And of course, everybody wants a bigger one. People, that's one of the sizes that people seem to like. It used to be the Dakota. Dakota was only
Was
mid-size.
big,
Yeah,
and
it
it
was
was
much
big.
bigger
Yes.
than the mini trucks that I was used to. And it was longer, it was bigger all the way around, but they didn't call it a mid-size. What did they call that? I mean, they didn't they category by themselves.
I think it was
Maybe
kind of a
it was
mid-size.
an XD, like
Oh, 5/8.
Nissan.
5/8.
Yeah, Nissan did this XD thing between sizes.
Well, it
That's
was
what
kind
that
of
was.
yeah, it was kind of a 5/8, so it's not quite a half ton, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit bigger than
Had a hell of
midsize.
a tailgate.
I would classify the Ranger as a straight up current midsize.
It is.
It's very by size.
Fits right in there. Yeah.
It's within a few inches of a Tacoma or a Colorado.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got another question there from Last Star Foster asking how close in size is the new Ranger to like a 2000 era F-150 or the Explorer Sport Track?
That's
Looks
a good.
pretty similar.
Well,
to
Sport
the
Track would have been
Explorer
really
Sport Track.
similar because
Yeah.
that was an Explorer. So
The Sport Track, actually, my
Yeah.
neighbor owns one, and I just talked to him about it. And the Sport Track actually has a bed that's a little bit less than 5 feet.
and it's all plastic. It's a plastic bed.
Right, composite or
Yeah.
composite
And it was
plastic.
really deep too, so you can put a lot of mulch in there.
Yes.
Sif asks, is the new Ranger available with massaging seats?
No,
No.
no, damn it, no! I asked him that. I said I want massaging seats,
But they're
No,
heated,
no.
but not cooled.
They can't even put the reclining back is always manual in all those mid sizes. I want the one mid size that has a power back reclines. None of them have.
You know what else is different on the Ranger is
What?
Technology. So you can get like
That's
Sync
very true.
2 system overseas, for example, UK. Sync 3 is available here for US. Also, the way that they did their driver assistance technologies,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they're kind of tailored, like adaptive cruise, lane keep, all that stuff is available.
It is actually that crawl system. If they came out in the Raptor
Trail control, right.
trail control. It has all that stuff, and yeah, it's got automatic headlights, automatic dimming lights. I mean, automatic dimming lights is a big thing for a small little truck like that. Nobody has all that stuff on.
You mean like
Bright?
high beam
Yeah.
or low beam?
Yeah.
Right.
That's standard
I think
on most
it's
of them.
okay.
Yeah, they
I
were
didn't
pretty
see
proud
that
of
option on the Excel. Maybe
Yeah.
it could be added.
Yeah, that would have to do some research on. They gave us that's the nice thing about Ford did on this. They gave us all the stats and all the build things. I mean, we could spec one out just the way we want them.
Another impressive thing that Ford did is they gave stats for the Tacoma and the Colorado in their materials.
Yeah, we got to drive them side by side
So,
using
yeah.
that crawl thing, trail thing, and the crawl thing. But that was really interesting. There's a
Stay
lot
tuned.
Of that.
We'll
Yeah.
tell you all about that
It's all
next
interesting.
week.
And the mirrors were interesting. There was a lot of interesting stuff.
Grifster asked, do you think they are going to make a platinum trim eventually in the Ranger?
I think eventually.
As soon as they sell 500,000 of them, they'll come out with more things for all this rich
Right,
people.
Right. Lariat, I just did this morning. I went to the configurator. By the way, the Ranger is now underneath their main configuration page for trucks. It used to be upcoming vehicle, now it's here. But it goes on sale in January, technically.
It does. It does. It's 1
Um,
month too late for me, but it does go.
And I spec'd out a fully loaded crew cab 4x4 Lariat at 45,000.
Wow.
So that's already, it's getting to the top end of the mid-size segment.
Right.
For example, if you compare this, like a fully loaded GMC Canyon is about 45, and then you
Yeah.
can push it higher with a diesel
Right.
engine
Right.
on the
right.
Canyon. So
Yeah.
Canyon Denali is about 50 grand,
Yeah.
and then the ZR2 could be priced a little bit higher.
Right.
This is 45.
I was looking at the XL STX with a chrome package, and it was pretty well loaded and all the stuff that I really need, and it was like 32,000.
That's reasonable, low
Yeah,
30s.
yeah, I think that's about where they should be.
If you can
priced.
get some discounts, I don't know what kind of discounts they offer on the Ranger yet.
Well, not
if
yeah,
any,
no,
because
they'll-
it's brand new. It's
yeah,
coming out.
They would
just-
need to for
right.
a while, and then next December you'll get a deal on a Ranger. Next
In a-
December, mark my words.
A year from now.
All
wanna
right,
talk about
speaking
the
of a
Bison?
year from now, I got another question for you guys. It's a question we get pretty much every show. When's the new Tundra coming?
We don't know.
We don't know.
So, so I've asked Toyota this many times. I also asked the Frontier. Oh, money?
Nero over B. Put out $5.
Thanks for answering my questions. You're welcome. We love connecting
What
with you
question
guys.
did he have? Anyway, are you gonna talk about the Bison?
We're mind readers.
We're getting some
No.
questions, and we haven't got to the Bison.
No, we read
1500.
we read minds, and we know what you guys
That's
are
true.
asking.
We're like we do the Vulcan mind melt. We can
We-
do that Vulcan.
We don't know about the
Vulcan
2020
mind
Tundra. We don't even know if it's going to be new. We don't know if Frontier is coming.
Yeah.
Then the next one, we did recently a story on TFLtruck.com about the 2020 Chevy Colorado.
Yeah.
Because there are rumors that it's going to be updated, like a refreshed for 2020.
Well, yeah.
We don't know about that. So all I know is that the new Ram is coming, heavy
Yes.
duty. The new heavy duty Ram.
Yes.
It's going to be unveiled in January at Detroit. So stay tuned for that. A lot of information is going to be there.
That's right. And in February we have the other reveal.
The Chevy Heavy Duty
We'll
formally
go.
unveils in February.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ford is not far behind
No.
with their Super Duty update.
I don't know because that just updated in 17. That'd be a little too soon, but I do think that 10-speed automatic is coming. But
You're betting all your money.
I'm betting all my money, but I don't think that they're going to change the truck right away. Yeah, 17 was that last year?
Okay, let's
Bill
talk about the
Ken-
Bison really quick.
Yes. So there's a Bison question here. We just drove the Bison recently.
Yes, we did. We climbed rocks. We did everything. We bent the
I think
exhaust
this
pipes.
is you. Is this you?
I don't know. I got a bent exhaust pipe. I had no. That's not me. 'Cause I had a big ladder rack. They gave mine all loaded down, so it squatted and so it hit rocks. But it ain't my fault.
So we drove.
I slowed down a little for the rocks.
We drove both the gas-powered Bison and the diesel. They're also available in extended cab. I'm still gonna call it extended
That
cab.
is Chevy. That's the proper name for extended cab. It's not
No,
for Ford.
it's not regular. Regular cab means just 2 doors, no extra windows. Extended
Right.
cab is longer.
No, Ford
and then
has
crew
everything.
cab is longer.
Okay, so you look at the half tons in Chevy and Ram. They're called
Double
crew
cab.
cabs. Ford is called a super crew.
But that's the Ford terminology. I want to talk about generically. I don't want to call it super something. It's crew cab.
Just do
Oh,
big, little, large.
You cannot call trucks generic names when they're not, but you do whatever you want. That's
I know all these marketing terms. I know the
well, it's not a
quad.
marketing term. That's the actual brand names that's stamped on the side of the truck.
It's marketing. Somebody in the marketing said, "Let's call a truck super. It's going to be really nice."
Well, they used to call it heavy duties heavy duty, and then in 1999 they switched it to super duty.
Wow.
So that's its real name. It's not.
Okay.
It's not like George, and now it's Alan. It's
Okay. We're losing it. No, but the question from Carlos that came in that
Yes.
Bison or Gladiator, cannot answer that question yet because we haven't driven the Gladiator.
Right.
We've driven the Bison, and Bison
You
is
can
really
buy the Bison now.
Bison now, like Bison burgers.
Yes. Get
No.
those Bison now.
No, but the Bison is really, it's not meant to be like the next level of the ZR2 in terms of like horsepower and outright speed.
Right.
It's meant for longer travel.
Yeah,
just
and it's
adventure.
kind of like a big accessory kit, and it really looks cool with the seats, the tires, the flares, the little rock runners underneath and in the corner. The bumpers are different.
Yes.
The boron steel, and then
It's an alloy,
and then
right?
Gina Motors is really smart, where they're offering a whole bunch of accessory packages of heavier CV joints, more armor underneath, and braces for the differential. You can go through the Chevy, was it Motorsports? Is that what it's called? We interviewed the same guy.
Yeah,
He's really
Chevy
sharp.
performance parts.
And you can take the
Right.
aluminum drive shaft off, put a steel one because there is no guard for that.
Custom exhaust
Yeah,
systems.
custom exhaust out the side of
everything
the
else.
diesel. So yeah, there's a lot of ways they're like a Jeep now. People figured out that take these off road, drive them to work, and accessorize the hell out of them.
Yeah.
And Rangers try to get on that too, but they're more like a lifestyle of accessories. And I know the FX4 is actually an interesting package. Tom and I were talking about. There's a lot of stuff on that package.
On the Ranger.
Yeah, like the trail thing, like all those things that are on the FX4.
Special nose. With
Steel,
they
yeah,
removed
steel.
the chin spoiler on the FX4.
That's true. See,
Right.
And that's the only way you can get all that. I think that's the only way you can get. Is that the only way you can get the trail crawl or the
trail control?
Trail
and
control.
there's also the mode system, terrain mode,
Yes.
which kind of varies how the transmission and the traction control system behaves.
Right. Yeah, and inner traction control works with the locker.
Right.
Use them both, but a lot of times you can on vehicles.
And also, but it's like $1,300. The
Well,
FX4 package.
yeah, I
so,
think it's a pretty good value.
So you're getting more, but
Yeah.
you also have to pay a little bit more.
That's true. I
Right.
really think that's probably the better values on that Ranger is getting the FX4. It's something I definitely look at.
Final question, or maybe not final, but I want to discuss the mid-size segment is getting more and more crowded now, right? So the Ranger is launching within a couple weeks, really.
Yeah.
You know, then the Gladiator is coming in May-June timeframe. Right.
Yeah.
Some people argue that the Honda Ridgeline is not a pickup truck. I say has a bed, so it is a pickup truck. The Honda Ridgeline doesn't sell a lot of units at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of how
That's
Honda,
a lifestyle truck.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle truck, and it's more a crossover feeling in that truck. And they only sell about 2,500 units a month. But that's how Honda is handling it. You know, they could probably produce more and push them more.
Yeah.
But they don't. It's their choice.
Well, that's kind of how all that works out. The Honda realized that if we don't make some kind of a truck, or when they first made their SUVs, we're going to lose some of our people. So they think, well, our loyal customers, they want to go to the next step to something else. Same way with Nissan. And we make all these Nissans, but now we need to make a truck for the people who really want a truck that love Nissan. So it makes sense that they would all do that to expand their brand. And then, but now the new thing is like Ford's dropping their cars, except for the Mustang. Chevy's dropping some of their car lines.
Right.
Now the new trend is to get rid of the damn cars and have all trucks and SUVs. But
Yeah. Well, it's good for us, right?
Yeah.
It's good for us.
We kind of picked that market 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
But the overall mid-sized market, it can only grow so much, right? But because you're putting new vehicles into it, you're
Right.
putting the Ranger, the Gladiator.
Yeah.
Now the Tacoma is still here. You got Colorado and Canyon.
Don't forget Ram.
Ram,
coming out.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
Ram's gonna have
Ram said by
mid-size.
2022 they're gonna have a mid-sized truck.
But you know, too, that's kind of part of the economy.
Something has to give.
As long as interest stays low, we're okay. Interest jumps up, we're in big trouble. But that's the thing is people can't always afford some of these really expensive half tons, even though they're very close. So they're trying to drop her down to a cheaper model of a midsize. And if I was coming out of college, that's probably the market I was looking at. You know, I could go take my Paracel and all that stuff in the back of that.
And your tent and go
Yeah,
camping.
and like we said in the book, your child's first car should be a truck, because then they can only haul
at
one-
legal driving age.
Yeah, and and it needs to be a single cab, so you can't haul all your friends.
Right.
You can haul all your crap in the back to go to college. You do lawnmowers. You can go out there and mow lawns.
You
do
can
that in
move
the
your
back.
friends
Yeah, I mean this
from
is
one
and
apartment
you
to
may
the
keep it
next.
forever. So as we said that in the
Yes.
book, you know, your child's first car needs to be a truck for so many reasons.
Do
Plus,
we have other questions in that
Well, Alvin,
require
we haven't
attention?
answered Alvin.
I can handle Alvin's question really fast.
Okay.
Alvin wrote in and said, why don't you review more gasoline engines on your channel, like Ram 1500 or Ram 2500 specifically with the gas motors? Well, in 1500 it's really easy. They're all gas. So we reviewed the heck out of them.
Yeah.
We just recently did a video where we compared V6 e-torque versus V8 e-torque.
Right.
The new mild hybrid system, so that's there. On the heavy duty side, I think gas engines are going to play a bigger and bigger role, right? So there are rumors about, Ford introducing a new V8 gas motor
Yeah.
for heavy duty. There's a rumor about Ram updating their gas motor. There's a rumor
Yeah.
about the V8 gas engine that's updated for the Chevy heavy duty.
Right. Chevy has announced they are doing it, so it's coming.
So we'll see a lot more gas engines. So don't worry, Elvin. More engines are coming.
See Wyoming, does the new Ranger require premium fuel?
It does not. According to the specs, it requires 87 octane, which is actually mid-grade in Colorado, but it's base fuel in California.
Yeah.
Smith Jones, are there rumors about GM's 2.7T i4 going into the Colorado platform in the future? It just makes sense to me.
What is that? Is that the turbo engine?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
2.7
yeah.
in the 1500.
Yeah.
Going into Colorado.
There is a rumor. So our friends at gmauthority.com, I like those guys because they do find breaking news
Yeah.
quite often. They're speculating about the turbocharged engine 2.7 going into the Colorado.
Yeah.
And we don't know that for sure. Chevy hasn't said. But my take on it is they could replace both the V6 and the diesel with one motor.
Mhm.
Would you agree? Because that 2.7 has the torque and it has the horsepower to kind of knock out both engines.
Do you think there's going to be a new
Yeah.
Mazda B2000? The Mike
Yes.
N asks.
So there's the current BT50, which
Overseas.
is related to
Right.
the T6 Global Ranger.
Well, they don't. Yeah, they don't make them. They don't sell Mazda pickups here now, do they?
No, they don't.
That's the question, will they?
Because, but you know who they made them? You know, they made the Ford Courier, Mazda. Then Ford took over and made the Ranger, and then you know Mazda did really well, and then later on, the last few years, Ford made the Mazda, but the Mazda had a longer warranty on it than the Ford Ranger. Same exact truck with different headlights and stuff,
Yes.
but they had a longer warranty on the Mazda. That was interesting, but yeah, that all went away. And I don't see
So-
Mazda being a big player over here in the midsize. I would be
Well,
surprised.
specifically, as Ford is now divorced from Mazda because
Right.
up until about, I think it was 2010, 2011, up until recently, Ford had a large stake in Mazda, like the Mazda 3, for instance.
Right.
It was
Right.
largely based
Right.
on the Ford Focus. You had the same thing with the trucks.
I-
Now that they're not together anymore,
I haven't
don't see
heard.
it happening.
I haven't
Yeah.
heard anything about Mazda truck. There's also a rumor that Hyundai is bringing a Santa Cruz pickup truck, like a crossover pickup truck.
Is that the one they said they were going to bring in, and then they
5 years ago and they never did.
yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
there is still a rumor about that, but I think Ford can do it. Right. Ford
Yeah.
Ranger is such a recognizable name,
Yeah.
and they have such a big dealership and marketing force that they can do that. If you have a smaller company like Mazda or Hyundai, because
Yeah.
they haven't been in that market
Yeah.
really recently, it's really hard for them to enter.
Okay,
Right, well-
last couple of questions here. Does the Ranger Lariat have 4 automatic?
No,
I didn't see that. And,
No,
you
it does
know,
not.
it also is the one that has the push button start. I don't know if the other ones have push button start.
the Lariat is the only one with push button start.
Yeah, that was
I asked about
interesting.
that. The other ones have the key.
Yeah, that was confusing when I got in and out. Back to the Mazda thing. Mazda made the Escorts at the end. They made the Sabre. What was that thing called? The next size up. So they've been together now.
Sedans?
Yeah, but no, it was a 2-door sports car. I'll think of it later. What did Mahindra buy Mazda? Who ended up buying that from Ford?
But you said Mahindra? No.
Because they bought the Jaguar and they bought Land Cruiser, right?
Wow.
No, it's Tata.
Huh?
We got the
Tata?
news.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a brother across the street, Tata. Okay.
Is there another 2 lightning round questions? Can we do a lightning round?
Yeah, lightning round. If you had to buy any trim of the Ranger, which one would you buy?
An STX FX4.
The short cab or the long cab?
Oh, there is no crew cab. No,
Super Crew?
Unless I had.
Oh,
They're not. Are they calling that the Super Crew
yes.
in the Ranger?
Well, why wouldn't they?
I'm not sure they are. Are they? We need to check that because I'm kind of.
I'll check it.
I don't know that they.
Super Crew.
I heard them call it Super Cab yesterday.
Some marketing guy said, let's call it Super. No, I would agree with you. XL STX FX4. That's a lot of letters.
That is. Yeah. Now we're starting to sound like Lincoln or somebody. MTK2
So
on one. Ready? Break.
Ford says Super Cab and Super Crew are the 2 cab configurations.
On the Ranger.
On the
Okay, well,
Ranger.
that's good. I'm glad you.
I call it
caught
crew
that.
cab.
Because I know
I'll
you
call
don't
it-
like to call it Crew Super Crew. For you to say that is really cool.
And Kent, which one would you get?
I get the STX
The
FX4.
STX.
I want the off-road and I want STX because it's a modified XL. I like the base ones, and it looks pretty sharp. You get the chrome package on it, you got something. That's actually.
I don't like Chrome. That's the only way we disagree. He's the Chrome guy. I'm not a Chrome guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, should we close this?
Wait a
We did
minute.
a lot
We
of
still got
questions.
2 more pages here. What
Oh.
about Michael? Michael has a question.
Pick your favorite question there.
Have you heard what about the next Tundra? Andy says, no, we have not. They're very secretive about this. We don't know. If we do know, you will know.
People are hopeful, Andre.
Okay.
They are,
I know
Goes
we're hopeful,
on,
but
yeah.
the Toyota develops in slow cycles.
Right. They're like
Well,
the
thank
old
you very
ones.
much.
10 years at a whack. That's all.
Thank you very much for joining. We'll do another Talking Truck show with Mr. Truck on Thursday next week. Monday, we're here with Nathan and I are going to do a live show at 4 p.m. Thank you.
And Tuesday, you will see all the cool videos about the Ranger with everything you want to know.
And driving.
So go to MrTruck.com.
Okay, now you have to sing. Does
Happy
the Ranger?
birthday.
No,
Oh,
no.
what?
Does the Ranger have a mega cab? No, it
Don't
does
you
not.
know? Does the Ranger ever make